So I'm Chi Chi, and I'm thrilled to be welcoming you to our second virtually speaking webinar. This time we're talking about remote working and keeping active. So this is still quite new for us, and I'll start with a few introductions. I'm very, very glad to be joined with a panel of experts in fitness. I don't really know very much, but I'll talk about myself and then I'll allow Stacey, Kelly, and Holly to introduce themselves and tell you what they do. So I run a company called Ascenti. I'm a developer. We've made some software that allows event organizers to create momentum and engagement for their events on social media before, during, and after they happen. And our invention is a question board. So it's somewhere you can log on, create a simple URL that lets anyone post questions to speakers before an event happens, and it lets you run polls that gets you audience insights before the event happens. So this scenario that we're all living through, these strange times, have actually brought some of the functionality the platform had to the fore. And so we decided to put together a series of events so that we could demonstrate actually helping people who are worried about losing a lot of the momentum they gain with their physical events. We're hoping to show, using our platform, that you can actually keep community going if you can get insights from people before an event happens, and you don't lose that momentum by going to virtual events. So that was me, and I'll let Stacey introduce herself now.
Hiya, I can't actually see anyone at the minute.
Oh.
Can you see everybody?
Yes, I can see you.
I can only see the four of us.
Oh yeah, my apologies. So sorry. During this, because it's a webinar, this is not a normal Zoom call.
Right,
so
okay.
So we will see each other, but everybody else, I can see the number of participants, and there's people logging on. We're up to about...
Okay. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't just me who couldn't see anybody else.
No.
Right.
As long as you can see us, that's fine. Everybody else, we can't see them.
Okay.
Carry on.
All right. It's like blind date or something.
Yeah.
So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Stacey Copeland. I'm a professional boxer, and formerly I played football, which maybe we'll talk about a little later. But at the moment, obviously, I'm in lockdown like everyone else, trying to keep up with my training. I've just, on the back of 18 months of injury, I had 2 surgeries back to back after winning the Commonwealth title. So I was on a real high, and then came crashing down, as sport sometimes does to you. It took me a very long time to get back. I just passed all my medicals again for boxing in January. I got my license back, ready to box, and then within 2 weeks, this happened. So it's very, very frustrating, but obviously very fortunate to be in the position that I'm not sick at the moment. I know it's affecting other people in really, really serious ways. So yeah, trying to stay motivated and keep my focus on where I want to be by the end of this year in sport, and hopefully can bring something positive to all of you today as well. So thanks very much for joining us, and really, really pleased to be here with everybody else as well. Thank you.
That's great, Holly. That's really good. Sorry, Stacey, my apologies.
All right.
Make sure I get the names right. That's terrible. I mean, this is like, it's so easy. Your names are next to your pictures. I was looking at the agenda. I apologize. So this is now Kelly's time to introduce herself. So go for it.
Thanks, Chi Chi. Hi, I'm Kelly Williamson, and I'm so grateful to be on today and for things like Zoom to do this and chat and share tips and advice. So I am a home workout pro. I'm a personal trainer. I used to be in marketing, and I just found the corporate world far too stressful and decided to retrain in health and fitness. And I set up my company, Recover Yourself Fit, about a year ago, helping people just get their mojo back and feel awesome while they're still doing that corporate stuff that they do, or just, mums as well, because I did all this around the time I had my little boy. But the big thing for me is bringing it all together with fitness, nutrition and mindset. So I'm actually doing a boxing program at the moment, Stacey, and loving it. Yeah, I've been doing all sorts of combos this morning. And the biggest thing that's kind of helped me through lockdown life so far is Zoom, even though it's had a load of slack for the privacy and everything and the security. Zoom meetings and webinars and being able to connect with friends and family like this and having somewhere to chat is it's definitely been a saving grace.
Fab, that's great. And on to you, Holly.
Hi, I'm Holly Moore. So I have got an events agency based in Cheshire. We're 8 years old, got 18 members of the team ordinarily. And I guess I've sort of spoken quite a lot about fitness, health and fitness, because I never even stepped in a gym until I was 30. I'm 43 now. And I really got into the gym for mental health purposes. So I guess I could potentially motivate anyone that is struggling to get motivated, that thinks, oh, you know, I haven't got the motivation, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start, because, you know, I'm like a gym bunny now, but I never was. And I think it's all about building strategies and understanding yourself well enough to know what's going to make you do it. And I actually genuinely think that what's got me through this at the moment, my initial panic with lockdown is, oh my God, I won't be able to exercise, like blah, blah, blah. And I've actually been doing online with my normal PT, and I can talk more about that when it's kind of my section, but I believe like having that normality of what I would normally do to start my day off is kind of what's kept me in some kind of routine when I'm not a routine person. So if there's anyone watching today that's like, oh, really hasn't exercised yet, it's not too late. You know, we're only 4 weeks in. This is the time to start, really. So
that's fantastic. That's really cool. So that's given us a great introduction to all speakers, and we're about to start the sessions now for each person. Over to you, Kelly. You've talked about nutrition, and I'm so pleased you brought that up, because I didn't think in those terms when I thought about what you could talk about. I just thought diet and fitness, there's probably something to do there, and you as a trainer would be able to give us some ideas on that. So what would you say are any top tips you have for keeping healthy and fit by eating healthy, and how do you combine the two effectively while working remotely?
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of people being at home now, and a lot of people say they've got so much more time, and what a great time to fall in love with the kitchen and make it a proper family affair and cook together and eat together and really appreciate food, but also being kind to yourself as well, because we are in really uncertain times. So not, you know, putting yourself on a really restrictive diet, but experiment and play with food and get to know food. And if you've got kids, you know, it's a great learning exercise for them to either learn to cook or learn the vegetables, depending on what age they are. My little boy's 4 next month, so we're teaching him what foods are healthy and what foods would be good or not so good but still okay. And then when we've made a meal, we get him to pick out the foods that are in it. So my top tips for eating well at the moment while you're at home is trying to really take things back to basics and really go for whole foods. So lead with the vegetables, cook the food fresh. Okay, when you're shopping and probably don't want to go to the shops too often, I know vegetables don't keep as well, but you can also batch cook and put some stuff in the freezer, so that when you really not feeling great that day, you can pull something out and you know you've made it and it's healthy. And there's loads of things that you can make that are really simple. Like I wasn't a cook until I had my little boy, and HelloFresh actually really helped me learn how to cook and experiment with new things. And then once you've kind of had a bit of a practice with all of that, you can start to experiment and try things that you like. But plenty of fruit and veg at the moment to keep the immunity up, all your vitamins and minerals from as many fresh things as you can, really.
How do you mean, that's really helpful, how do you mean lead with the veg? So what does that phrase mean?
Lead with the veg. So you
I love it. I just want to know what it means.
Lead with the veg. Well, in terms of, if I talk to any of my clients about if they want to lose weight or go on a bit of a transformation, it's water first, lead with the veg, then there's a few other different tips that we kind of go through depending on what the client's preferences are and where they want to go with it. Staying hydrated, I don't know about you guys, but when I'm out and about, I seem to drink loads of water. When I'm at home, I just go for a cup of tea. So making sure that I'm drinking loads of water, because we're at home, we're probably, dare I say it, a bit bored. There's so much we could do that we shouldn't be bored, but it is boring being at home 24/7. So you might notice that you're snacking more because of that boredom factor, when actually you're probably just a bit thirsty. So maybe try and have like a glass of water first, leave it a bit, try a few delay tactics before you go in and snack. But don't be too hard on yourself, because
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that. That's actually really helpful. I made notes. This is great. I'm enjoying this. I'm learning. Over to you, Holly. What are your tips or suggestions around scheduling, keeping active, and how, any tips you've had really for finding the time to keep active and how to make the most of that time?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying to you ladies before, obviously I'm solo isolating, so I'm not doing the whole homeschooling or anything like that. I haven't got another person in the household to consider or look after, but what I obviously have got to do is I've got to keep a business surviving that's in one of the most challenged industries. So I am working full-time over and above, and I need to make sure that I'm sticking to that structure. So for example, what we will do as a team is we're still having a team meeting at 9:30 every morning, which and then we check in again at 4:30, and I think it just gives us that discipline that we are doing a working day. But typically I'll work before and after that. So I think, so for me, and I'll talk more about what I do, is I do it first thing, but then I am very conscious of, and it's funny we were saying this before, so I'm doing my exercise gym in the morning, but then I'm conscious that I'm not doing my steps, because normally I would obviously be driving somewhere, walking somewhere, so like in my head now I'm like, I've got to do a walk at the end of the day because I need to get my steps in. So if I backtrack a little bit, I think, as I mentioned before, like I didn't start exercising till like later in life, and then obviously found the benefits to it. But I'm very good at understanding like strategies and understanding what makes it work for me. So typically outside of lockdown, I would be doing PT at my normal gym a couple of times a week. I'd go to Barry's boot camp because it's a class on a treadmill, and you basically don't need to think for an hour, but you get absolutely battered. And then a couple of runs. But I know that that's fine. That if I've committed to a class with a friend or a PT, I will do it. The times that I don't are the times I talk myself out of it, or I'll go to the gym and faff. Even though I love the gym, I just know that I prefer it as part of a social thing. So when we first started lockdown, now I have actually got my garage as a little gym, and I've got a reconditioned treadmill, and I managed to get some weights for Decathlon before they all completely sold out. I'm in a fortunate position that I've got the facilities to work out, but I still knew I would do it, or I would have faffed. And then I was getting stressed thinking I'm going to come out of lockdown and I'll have lost all my fitness, and and I know that I need that structure. So what I did was, if you consider, so say you're, give an example of a mum, and you've got to homeschool, and typically the time you might go out for a run is during the working day. I think, and I guess it's going to be super hard for maybe a single parent if the children are in, like, as if you've got a partner, then you negotiate between the two of you, even if it's just half an hour to get out and have a run or a walk. So I guess it's looking at what do I like doing, what can I be motivated to do, and what can I do. So for example, let's maybe give the hardest scenario potentially might be a single parent with kids. So obviously Joe Wicks is doing this family PT at 9 a.m. every morning, which is going global. So for me, that is like easy win, because you can do it with the kids. It is tough. You can make it tougher than he does it anyway, because you can close the breaks and stuff. But for me, that would be the simplest thing to do. Plus the fact you'll notice loads of people are doing it on Facebook and things like that. So you can almost commit to it that's another thing that you could do, is kind of with another friend say, look, we're going to do it every morning. Do you want to? And we'll get the kids to check in and things like that. So I think you've got to exercise. I know this is hard for people that don't, but you've got to exercise. You've got to get your body moving. you know, it's for your mental health, but it's thinking about what you enjoy. So my mum, who's in the over 70s bracket, she's just, it's funny because she just normally goes out walking and my dad just plays golf, and they've just found between themselves their own strategies. So my mum's taken up Zumba, which makes me absolutely howl, and I've dug out an old Jane Fonda video, and she's been doing all the 80s aerobics. And then my dad's taken to walking, and he never used to walk, he's lost a stone. So I think it's the mindset, isn't it, Kelly? That's the thing. You've got to get your head in the space of, I'm going to do something, and then what, that is going to be different for everyone. But like, sorry to rub it on, when I first started going to the gym, I just said to myself, because I wasn't a gym goer and it wasn't lockdown, I was like, if I step foot in a gym 3 times a week, that will tick a box for me initially. So it's a small goal. Then it was like, oh well, if I did 10 minutes on the treadmill. So I think it's just like little goals. I think doing it as a family is a good idea, because, you know, there's so much online that you can do. You know, there's all like, and there's loads of free, like, I'm sure I don't need to tell everybody this, but you've obviously got an Instagram, all your IGTV, so loads of live classes. YouTube, you could Google any class you wanted, like Zumba, Pilates, yoga. There's loads of free apps. So I've signed up for the Peloton app, which is free for a month, and that's literally got the most amazing classes. It's even got routines to do when you're out walking and running with music. It's got everything on. And then, like, for me, what I've been saying for about 5 years, that I want to do Pilates, and I've said all through lockdown I'm going to do Pilates, and I'm not. But now I've finally said to a friend, should we commit to do it together? Because I think, again, I know what I'm like, and if I commit to do it to a friend, I will. So I've probably gone into a bit too much detail there, but
no, that was fantastic, and you've still got some minutes left. We had a little bit of time, so Kelly went in a bit early, and it's been great. It's working out really well. So I did have you mentioned something that you glossed over that wasn't obvious to me before. You said there's stuff on YouTube and there's Zumba. You said there's something. Was it on GITV or?
Yeah. So just for those, so if you are on Instagram, any of the big sort of gyms are offering classes every day. So if you're familiar with Instagram, you get the live stories across the top, and you can go on at pretty much any point and there'll be a class going on, and they're mainly saved for 24 hours on their story. So if there's a gym that you like the look of, so I've just mentioned Barry's, for example, they're doing like 4 half-hour classes a day, which are on there. Or if you've got fitness influencers that you follow, I mean, I bet Kelly will be able to, and Stacey will be able to share.
Yeah,
Box.
Yeah.
Are you putting up classes, Kelly?
Yeah, so my
Okay.
So in terms of what I do, I run home fitness boot camps, and I've got a free membership that isn't just available through lockdown. It's available like as long as you want it. And on there's 16 different workouts of all different styles. So there's the boxing workout on there, Pilates, yoga, and there's another 16 workouts that are child friendly as well. So they're home workouts. Most of them are body weight based. You don't need a lot of space, and you can play them as many times as you want, whenever you want. And I will be hosting some more live classes as well. Because I know some people are like, right, if there's a time, I'll stick to it at that time. Whereas other people are just like, right, I can't stick to that time because there's so much going on. Whenever I get half an hour, I'll just jump on and do the half hour.
Yeah.
So it works both ways.
That's really helpful. We have a Slack group, and I'd encourage you guys to post any of these tips, any resources you've mentioned on there, because there is somewhere that all these things can live outside this. I've got a question for you, Holly, but we'll do it in the Q&A around sort of scheduling and mental health and how it links with the day. This is fantastic. I'm running out of paper. Let's move on to Stacey now on staying motivated. Share any tips and strategies you have for being consistent with keeping active while remote working. I'm so thankful you shared at the beginning about the journey so far and why you've got a focus for this year, you know, outside the lockdown with your boxing. So yeah, and that just thrills me to bits because I put the energy together without knowing any of that.
Yeah, well, on the back of winning the Commonwealth title, my big goal was to win a world title, and then obviously I had the injuries to deal with. So I've been training without my without my reward, if you like, for 18 months now. So lockdown's just an extension of it, if anything. But I think for me, the things that have helped I thought I'd share because they may be useful to someone else. As a sports person in particular, and I know this is the case for most people, but routine is really, really crucial because we have set training times because we train with our teammates or our coaches. So they're set, it's not you do it when you feel like, we have set training times. So as much as possible, I've tried to train at those same times of day so that it still feels proper, if you know what I mean, that I'm not just picking over type stuff. I'm trying to make it as proper as I can. I'm fortunate that with boxing, other than sparring, which is where you practice fight with someone else, I am able to do most of the sport-specific movements that I would be able to do. And luckily, my boyfriend is able to do pads with me and stuff like that. If I was a swimmer, that it's really, really difficult for people in those kind of sports. I mean, they're coming up with pretty creative, genius ways of carrying on training, but it's difficult having to get a massive paddling pool to a lot of them are able to do. So I'm quite lucky I can still do most of those movements. But routine's really, really crucial for sports people because it's a massive, massive part of your life, and really your entire life revolves around sport and your dedication to it, and it's front and center. So when that's taken away, it can be very, very difficult. Your identity and your purpose goes with it. So it's really crucial as an athlete to keep that purpose and identity. And that's exactly the same for everyone else. For people who do sport, not competitively, but, exercise or being active is a massive part of who they are and what they do. It's just as important for them to try and keep that routine. Goal setting for me is really important. Now, in sport, sometimes you have to adjust your goals. You might have a goal to do A, B, and C, and then an injury comes along, or maybe you don't get picked for the team. Or in this case, for all of the athletes now, the Olympics has been moved back a whole year. So you do have to adjust your goals. At the minute, some of them will have been getting ready to peak, obviously ready for Tokyo. Now they're going to have to taper off, come right back down and reset again. And that's fine. And that's, again, the same. It applies to those who, like Holly was saying, she has this certain routine and these goals and everything. You have to adjust them in lockdown. You can't necessarily stick to what you usually do. She can't see all of her friends and be at a class. So she's got to find a way to keep to those goals, but adjust them. So definitely keep setting goals, but just adjust them accordingly. Don't get frustrated because you can't do the half marathon that you've been training for, and maybe you haven't got a garden space where you can still do it. Although a man in France has run a marathon on a 7-meter balcony the other week, but I don't know I don't know how he could do that, but just shows us amazing ways of doing stuff. Tracking progress I find really helpful in normal times. I have a training diary. I don't use apps. I'm an old school pen and paper person. So I have training diaries that, I record everything I do. I'm still doing that now because that keeps that making me feel like, I've done that session. I wear a heart rate monitor, so it gives me loads of feedback of my average heart rate and this, that, and the other. You don't have to do that. You can just put, I've done 20 minutes of this, 10 minutes of that, 5 reps of this. And it just can sometimes feel really good looking at that thing that you've done and incentivize you to go, well, I've done 5 days in the run. I'm going to do day 6 or whatever it might be. For others, visual things can be good. Where you have a tick sheet where you just tick every day that you've done exercise on a diary or put a stone in a jar. It doesn't matter. Give yourself that incentive that, wow, look what I've been doing. And I think it can help. So tracking the progress within those goals has been good for me. As for equipment, like Holly said, I went to get some stuff from Decathlon and it was just empty. There was like no kettlebells, and I was like, wow. So obviously I popped down to my amateur boxing gym and just borrowed a load of stuff.
Yeah,
I did. I went out like I had a swag bag or something with like dumbbells and pads and everything. If you don't have any equipment at home though, there's loads of things that you can do. So until I was waiting to get that stuff, I got a normal rucksack, a gym bag, and I filled it with all the heaviest stuff I had in the house. So like washing powder, detergents, bottles of water. I just put loads in a bag and I used that as a weight. So you can do squats with it, chest press, whatever you want. Tin cans for boxing are okay if you use them as little dumbbells. And obviously there's chairs you can use for tricep dips, for press ups, for Bulgarian squats, which is where you do one-legged squat. Loads of stuff you can do. If you're not sure, Google it. There's loads of ideas for creative ways to use stuff at home.
My PT's got me using a tea towel, doing
slide on the floor.
Oh my God, it's
really hard.
Doing my legs in and out. I'll have to put it up. So my God, it absolutely kills me.
What's it? Paper plates are good for that as well.
You
have to have the right surface. You have to have the right surface because otherwise it can destroy your flooring. But yeah, mountain climbers are really good at it. Is the hardest thing in the world. It's so difficult.
Sorry to interrupt. I really do feel, because I've not been into fitness. I've just started running a lot more, but hearing you guys is making me think we need to do something like this again, and then people demonstrate. So we'll prepare ourselves, and you'll know you have to have some space in your room for the Zoom camera to show us something, because I don't know anything about tea towels and
all manner of domestic equipment you can use.
You won't believe the stuff you can do. Yeah, it's amazing.
I love it. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I want to see it.
Just carry on around.
Yeah. And then the last couple of things that really helped me, music. I mean, some days if I'm thinking, I'm feeling a bit like everybody does, for whatever reason, I've got to train today and it's not the same and da-da-da. If I get some music on that I know gets me going, I will train. So pick that music that you absolutely love, that gets you going, and just, it just uplifts you. It does. That's why every single gym, what gym has no music? That every gym has music on. People wear it in their ears, or there's a reason for that, because it gets you going. It helps your endorphins. It helps you get your adrenaline going. It's great. It's exciting. It's motivating. So get that music on that you absolutely love. And what we've been doing, I've been doing some free online Zoom classes for people who usually come to our women's boxing fitness classes and stuff like that. Loads of my friends are joining in who, have been meaning to train for ages. Some who always train. There's a real mix of people. The kids are joining in. And we have a fun finisher at the end of every session, and every different person picks a song. And so we've had the twist, we've had Oops Upside Your Head, we've had YMCA, we've had all sorts. It looks ridiculous because you can see everybody in these, in these little rooms. Sometimes there's like 20 odd of us, people in the gardens, like doing the Macarena. The neighbours are like, what? They've really got locked down, like they're in distress. But it's been great. It's been, and which brings me to my final point. You can keep inspired, but everyone's got sporting moments and sporting heroes that inspire. And watch them before you do a session and remind yourself, what was that Olympic moment, or that moment as a kid that you saw that sporting thing and was like, yes, and get inspired by it. Get that music on, set your goals, record what you're doing, but have fun with it. It's really, really important to use this time to have fun. There's a lot of grimness and darkness and uncertainty and anxiety, completely natural. And the great thing about sport or activity, it's dead hard to think about all that whilst you're absolutely knackered and just struggling to get rid of the lactic acid and just to breathe, whether that's running, cycling, whatever you're able to do. It's really difficult. Or even, something like acro yoga, which me and my boyfriend have tried, which is in partners, which is dead hard. And, while you're trying to hold that pose, it's really hard to think about the future and what about this, what about that, while you're thinking, where do I put that leg? That leg ain't going to go there. It's really good to be in the moment. And I think in sport, we try and achieve that all the time. We try not to think too much about the past and if we lost this fight or who they beat or what's their record. We try not to think about the future. What if I lose? Then it'll mean this. Then it'll mean that. We try and be in the moment, and it's really helpful for now. Try and do things now and then that are in the moment, where you're not worrying about the past, the future. You're just focusing on now. And have fun with it. So we've been doing a Corona Cup where we have a different challenge every day. I'm top of the leaderboard so far. He's only won at chess. I only had to put that game in so he could win at something. We've done badminton, we've done bat and ball, we've played table tennis on the dining table, all sorts of stuff. So keep having fun with it as well. And then hopefully, you'll find something that you can do at least a couple of times a week. And I promise you, absolutely promise you, and I am biased, but you cannot be involved with physical activity, with music on and fun and reaching out with other people, whether that's in your house or by Zoom, and not feel better. You 100%
will agree.
Even if you don't at the start, just do it and you'll feel great and you remember that feeling and do it again. So just get it done.
This is gold. This is fantastic. So as we've been talking there, we're doing very well for time. I'm aware that I've not invited people to start getting their questions in, but there's a Q&A button if you're visiting and joining us. There's also like a chat button as well. So in the next few sections, we're just going to talk about some of the things that each person's raised. And I'm encouraging everyone who's watching to get their questions in, either via the chat or the Q&A, and we'll be looking at each one. So that was really helpful, Stacey, because it kind of made me think, actually, there's stuff you've been prepared for like all your life that will just come out like in its own at this time, with all your sort of discipline as an athlete, and the experiences that you've had to pick up and learn in communicating with people and motivating other people. This is a bit of this is us moving into the Q&A. You don't have to answer this question, but I'm intrigued around how you're going to schedule your planning for the next year, taking into account, obviously, the rest of the world can't do any major sporting events. How are you going to use this time? Have you got any specific goals? Share what you can, obviously keep private, what you can keep private as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're quite right that each of us at this time are going to draw on the resilience that we've built in other areas of our life. And for athletes, it's quite specific. We kind of live and die by the word win or lose a lot of the time. It's very, very linear. There's like a line and you're on that side of it or not. Not all of life is like that, but all of you, everyone who's tuned in, will have their own version of it where they've had to build their own resilience, just like Holly and Kelly and everybody listening. For athletes, we draw off those experiences, obviously. I have to say, two of the things that I am finding helpful, obviously, I've mentioned already being in the moment. We have a saying which you all will have heard of, which is definitely relevant in business and personal life too, which is control the controllables. There's an enormous amount at the minute that is out of all of our control. In sport, it's massively out of our control more than ever, like everything else. In the sport of boxing, even when the lockdown finishes, it'll be a while before our sport can happen again. Part of that is because even if social distance is not an issue, because of the nature of the sport, you have to have paramedics at fighting events. You have to have a doctor, you have to have a medical team. One, because you have to pass a medical on the day to box. Also, there are serious injuries that can happen. If there was to be a serious injury, a brain injury, that's an enormous amount of acute care and therefore personnel that are needed. So it just wouldn't be right to put that pressure on the NHS until literally things are back to as close to normal as possible. So our sport in particular won't be happening for a while, whereas other sports might be. I can't control any of that whatsoever. I can't control the fact that I'm rapidly, coming towards retirement anyway. This last 18 months that I've lost, I could have done without. So I know I'm running out of time. So it's very, very, very frustrating that, I'm wanting to reach my full potential and this is stopping me. But I have to control the controllables, and that's something you learn in sport a lot. There's loads outside your control, like injuries, opponents, the place you box in, everything. So I'm going to control what I can, which is all of those things I mentioned before, to stay motivated, to set goals. And also, I find if I get a saying in my head, it can really help. So I've set out to become a world champion, and I didn't put any conditions on that. I never said I want to be a world champion so long as everything's plain sailing. Just like Holly with their business, Kelly with hers, they never said, I really want to do this unless it gets a bit tough. Then I'm out. Yeah. They said, I'm going to do this no matter what, whether I have a little boy, whether I have to isolate on my own, I'm going to keep my business going. And it's the same principle for me. I never said I want to be a world champion so long as everything goes all right. I want to be a world champion even though I've had 2 surgeries, even though I've had 18 months injured, even though I've had to get my medical back again and I'm going to have to fight my way back up the rankings, even though we're now in a pandemic, I have to keep that goal front and centre in my heart and in my mind if I'm going to get there. So control the controllables and make the best of the situation that we're in. I practice gratitude, if you like, every single day and think, you know what, I'm lucky, I'm not ill. My family, my mum's had coronavirus and been really, really sick, but she's getting better now. So I've got that to be grateful for. I've got my boyfriend at home who's, really helping me with my training. So I think that being grateful for what we have got and what we can do is helpful. So that's my thing for boxing. Outside of boxing, I'm setting up Pave the Way as a charity, which is about gender equality for both genders. And we just literally 10 days ago got charity status, which has taken us 9 months to get and a massive amount of work. So I'm using that time to start work on that now, because I feel, the barriers, the greatest barrier that I've faced in my entire sports career is my gender, particularly being in football and boxing. And I know it's predominantly women that face those barriers, particularly in sport, but boys do too. You know, I get parents contact me, his little boy loves ballet, and they've just given up altogether because of the stigma, and that's not good enough. And I just think gender should never be a barrier to human potential. So in terms of outside boxing, that's my big goal at the minute, to set up the charity. And other than that, I'm doing as you can see, my very professional studio poster, Lockdown Live, where I'm interviewing boxers every couple of weeks to try and keep young sports people engaged with sport, because this is a time when we could potentially lose them. So I'm doing my stuff on the radio. I'm going to be really interested to follow Kelly's nutrition stuff, because we've started eating loads more plant food, me and my boyfriend Tim, and we have a themed Saturday date night now in the house, obviously, where we do, we've done Mexican, Thai, and it just, if you make Saturday feel a bit different to every other day, up to you, there's ways of doing it, isn't there? So we're to varying degrees of success trying out different types of food. So, I'm going to be really interested to see what Kelly's recommendations are for that. So
that's helpful. That was really good. I'm grateful I asked that, particularly because from the experience I've had with us doing these webinars, like, this is the second one, there is like a latent demand at the moment for contact with other people around any topic really, but because it's to do with remote working and being this weird environment that we have at the moment with the staying at home, people are just keen to hear from other people. So listening to what you just said there, Stacey, I do think there's something in some of your goals around giving a space. Maybe it can happen every 6 weeks or every month or whatever, for young people, people that you're trying to inspire with Pave the Way, just to hear from other people. You're doing it already with the boxing and the interviewing, but I think if you set a stake out now where there's just not enough content around that for that, I'm pretty sure there isn't for that community, because we've only done 2, and I can see from what I'm doing with as a developer and as a company owner that there just isn't any targeted content for learning and sort of learning from people that care about what you care about. So think about that for what you do, because that might be a route to things beyond lockdown, that will really expand your influence. So that was really helpful. Let's touch on some things in the Q&A before it gets ahead of it. We've had a little bit of time, so I want to talk really about the stuff we did on the social media polling we did before the event. So I already talked to the panelists about this. We ran a poll called, with the question being, what's the biggest challenge facing keeping active during #COVID-19? And the options were lack of time, lack of space, lack of motivation, and don't know where to start. There was 19 votes in total, and the highest scoring vote at 32% was lack of space. After that was lack of motivation, and then joint at 21% were lack of time and don't know where to start. Lack of motivation got 26% of the votes there. So I said all that to say this: we haven't got much to do in terms of scripted Q&A beyond talking about this, and I'm encouraging people to start getting their questions in. Otherwise, we'll just keep chatting amongst ourselves and putting things in the chat if they want to also ask questions. So we talked about this already in our sort of practice session before the webinar started, but what do you think about those results? Lack of space being the biggest scoring option in that poll. Anyone?
I mean, we were saying about it, I was quite shocked, only that, but then obviously we talked about the fact that I live on my own, but I'll work out in like a tiny travel lodge room if I need to. So I'm shocked at lack of space. But then Stacey was saying she's dealing with a lot of families that are in small houses, and there definitely is a lack of space. So I guess I was shocked at that, but that's just because of my situation. But you shed a bit more light on that, didn't you, Stacey?
Yeah, I work a school 1 day a week, and I've been going in, obviously doing physical activity with children of key workers, and some of them are really struggling. Some of them have got 2 or 3 children, and I mean, they're having to go to food banks. They're worried about their electricity being cut off. They're in really dire circumstances. So physical activity isn't the number one priority when people are on that level of stress, even though it would help them. It's not always that simple, is it? And yeah, some of them are in really, really limited living spaces. But I guess the other side to that is people, like you've just said, Holly, as a boxer, sometimes when you're away at tournaments, you find a space, because you've got to train to get ready for it. And you might be in a hotel, and we've done full training sessions in a hotel room. We've done stuff, you know, ridiculous things you end up doing as a boxer, where you've got 2 hours to make weight and you put the shower on, shut the door and create a steam room and train in there. It's really weird what you end up doing in boxing. Wow. You know, we've done it in car parks, rooftops, all over the place. So having said that, yes, you know, obviously people have very various circumstances, but I think, you know, if you follow what Kelly does, she'll be able to give you tons and tons of exercises to do literally in a really small space. I think a lot of it is that people aren't sure. They think running, cycling, whatever, I ain't got that equipment, I ain't got that space. Actually, the activities you can do where you can get your heart rate up, do lots of strength and conditioning, all sorts of stuff with no equipment in a small space. But you do have to know how to do it, and that's where Kelly can help you.
Yes, absolutely. Over to you, Kelly, because this is great for me, because I'm one of those people. I thought lack of space, not because I haven't got the space, but because I thought I don't have in my mindset having a, you know, set of dumbbells in a room or having an exercise bike in a room. I just don't think like that. So over to you, Kelly. What could I do to change that mindset?
Well, you know, it is, when you think about, I'm gonna do a Zumba in the living room or a dancing or anything, you think you need to have loads of space. Just move the coffee table out the way. Don't jump as high if you need to jump. There are certain things to be safety conscious about, but also you don't need much space, like arm's width, and, you know, as far as you can stretch your legs out. So squats, jump squats, anything that's fairly minimal in terms of actually moving. So much core work you can do in a tiny space. Even while you stood cooking, you know, waiting for the potatoes to boil or anything like that, get your squats in. One-legged squats, like Stacey was saying before. Just make it fun as well. I do boxing in a tiny little room that I've got as my studio, ballet bar, yoga. None of it needs a lot of space, and a lot of the dumbbells are out of stock literally everywhere, and if you want to get some off Amazon, it's going to be a few £100 to get them. So you really don't need the equipment either. You can either improvise with tin cans, like Stacey said, or putting books or heavy things into a backpack and using that to make those exercises harder. As well, if you're worried about space, make sure you use that hour outside to exercise in that space. If you've got little kids that are very slow at walking, do some walking lunges, because you'll soon find that they're quicker than you. And if you can go and, you know, use that time on your own, and you're not a runner, couch to 5k, or, you know, just do stuff that's interval training, where you run to a lamppost and you run back, and do that a couple of times, and then walk to the next couple of lampposts, just to keep your body guessing and your heart rate going up.
That's really helpful. Just before we go into any Q&A, there isn't a huge amount coming through. I think it's just because we're all riveted in listening, and I guess maybe there are more people like me where you've not had the mindset of someone who has to sort of consciously plan fitness. And so there's so much terminology that I'm coming across now that I think we should do this again with a bit of demonstration from you guys. And so this will be something for the future. We had this at the last webinar as well, where we said there's something in this about remote working and keeping teams together. So we'll talk about it again. So this is my invitation to you guys, like particularly around, for me, having a very, very basic introduction into fitness and the activity that affects what part of my body, what mindset I'm approaching it with. I know this is the topic that it is because people have very different motivations. You know, some people want to lose weight, some people want to tone, some people want to gain weight. There's a bunch of things. But for someone who's finding all this like quite interesting, I think one thing I'd really appreciate is to just know, how do you know when you're doing too much in this season? Because like I said, I used to cycle everywhere, but now I've tried to do a bit of running because obviously I'm not going to work, I'm not getting the bus, I'm not walking in. When it's too much, what goals are too ambitious at the moment for someone who's coming into this brand new? Bit of a random question, but anyone answer it.
I think it's dependent, isn't it, on you and what you do already and what you want to achieve. I think goals are just really personal to everyone. I don't necessarily think if there can be. I think we can get overwhelmed because we want to make, having this time at home opens so many opportunities to us, not just fitness, it's everything you want to get done around the house. And I'm almost thinking, oh my God, it's going to come around too quick, and I won't have, built my vegetable patch or learned Pilates or done this crocheting I was going to do right at the beginning. So, but I don't know, I think I'm a goal-orientated person, much like probably Stacey and Kelly. So for me, I had all these things in my head I wanted to do on the first weekend. So I literally just wrote everything down on pieces of paper. I think I had like 7 pieces of paper, from the tiniest things to and then I put them into a spreadsheet like under headings, and I've kind of sorted my way. I've done probably like 2% of what I said I would do, but I am achieving things. And for me, very much what Kelly was saying, so the fitness would probably always be a non-negotiable for me because it's something that I do. But food, I'm terrible with. I am such a buy M&S, snack. I eat out a lot with work normally, and I've said for about 10 years I want to learn to cook, and I want to learn to cook all my favorite dishes, but healthy versions of. And that's been my kind of goal, and I've enjoyed that so much and just got so much pleasure from oh God, this is in the cupboard, what can I do with this? And I've reached out on Instagram and Twitter and said, right, I've got these ingredients, what shall I make with them? And I've had so much pleasure from that, and feel like I will have at least accomplished something really good when I come out. And it's been a real switch of Grease was on yesterday afternoon. Did anyone see it? It's my favourite film. And I was I'm going to cook an entire roast dinner for myself. And I got so much pleasure out of it. So I think it's really good to have goals at this time. I don't know is there anything that anybody else has done that they wouldn't, because I think for all of us, probably fitness, we were always going to do just in what capacity. Yeah. Have you guys done anything different that you would have done normally? Because that's all to do with your wellness, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a musician, so sorry, I'll be quick. So I used to really be into sort of gigging and doing stuff on the Manchester circuit, and then it became I couldn't put the practice in to get ready and do work and do work, go to work, go to the gig, and then do the whole thing over. I just couldn't keep up with it, so I just let that slide, and it's been great going, okay, maybe there was a reason why I was into music all this time. So I'm trying to record things, and I was concerned about things selling out on Amazon. So I made sure I got a little box for recording. I wasn't bothered about dumbbells or anything like that. Had no concept of that. I got my microphones in, got the cable in. Though. So yeah, so it's been helping me. And yeah, I'll let you guys answer. So that's my other escape, music.
But I think that's good. It is worth bringing up. Yeah, we all need to move, and we should be moving and doing fitness, and we all have different reasons for that. But it's not just about fitness. I actually realised my life has been alarm, gym, work, and I wouldn't allow myself to do anything else. And so I think doing things that are creative is all part of the whole wellness. It's not just about training. What about you guys?
I don't think they're separate, because it's for me they're not. So if I am training and getting that bit, I tend to be loads more productive at the other stuff. If that makes sense. Maybe that's because quite an all or nothing person, as most people are, or most business people are. You know everything, or it's forget it all. So if I'm doing my physical activity, it makes me more motivated to do other stuff. And it's interesting what Holly said, because at the start I did a top 10 things if we go into lockdown.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so I did a top 10, but then also what I've done alongside it is, because inevitably what happens is this wasn't in my top 10 because I didn't even know it was going to happen. So what can happen, with everything else, you have a list of stuff you want to do, but then someone will say, oh, can you do this? Can you do this interview? Can you do that podcast? Da, da, da. And you end up not doing your list and then thinking, oh, I've not done all that stuff. You know, I'm looking at that list and there's only 3 things ticked off. So I thought, but I have been doing loads. So I've done another list next to it of the stuff I have been doing. So like this today will go on there.
That's a good idea.
Going, oh, I haven't done my spreadsheet or my top 10. I'll go, yeah, but I've also been doing all that stuff, because you can trick yourself into thinking, I've not done all. And the whole point of it is to be motivating and good, not to sit and look at it and go, oh God, I'm such a loser. What have I been doing for, you know? So you've got to get that balance of, no, I haven't done everything on that list, but I have been doing these things that were time sensitive, like this today had to be done today. So you're not doing stuff towards your top 10 because there was a fixed time for this to happen. So I do think the other stuff you're doing, whether that's your physical activity, your cooking, you know what I mean, even that stuff, it's really good. It's part of self-development, and it's, you know, it's how you're spending that time. And I wrote, it's proper geeky this, but I wrote this like when I started and I put it on my wall, and it's in 1665, Cambridge University closed due to the bubonic plague. Isaac Newton returned home, and during that time he invented calculus and devised his law of gravity. I ain't going to be doing any of that because I'm crap at maths. I'm not going to be inventing
Tweet that picture, otherwise I'm going to write it.
Yeah, well, I kept it, and I thought, right, keep that on your wall, and do not let these days dwindle by when you look back and go, what did I do with that gift of time that we never ever usually? And I can't do stuff in my house because you know, my elderly grandparents actually live with me, and they're very high risk. So that's why I've moved in with my boyfriend Tim, thankfully, which is going great. So I can't do stuff in the home like a lot of people are doing. So it's other stuff I've got to do. So, you know, have that list of stuff to do, but also be doing a list of the stuff you're doing alongside it. Otherwise, it looks like you haven't done anything, and you have. We all have. So even if it's that stuff, like we're you know, being creative and trying out loads of plant food stuff, well, there's no reason why that can't go on your list. You know, in the last week, I discovered that we really like plant food steak, the Quorn mince, Linda McCartney vegetarian sausages, and absolutely hate Quorn bacon. That won't be happening again. But it was an experiment that we tried. Fair enough, we're trying different stuff.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like you said with the tracking, apply the tracking to like a lot of stuff that you do, because if you're usually in work in an office, you've got your diary and it's pretty much full. You know what you're doing from your 9 to 5. But if you're at home and you've not got that structure that you usually have, I've been writing down all sorts of different things that I've done so that I get to the end of the week and I go, actually, I have done this, this, and this in my business, as well as for me and my health. So that tracking is really important just for everything, because the last 4 weeks has flown for me.
Yeah, it has, yeah.
Absolutely. Where it's gone, it's a bit scary, and it is a gift of time. But that other thing about everything you want to do, you look at it and go, oh, I'm in overwhelm. So break the goals down and work backwards and go, right, little mini goals. Today I'm going to try this, or tomorrow if you've not exercised before, tomorrow is the day that I'm going to try, running around the block.
This is great.
Questions just popped up on there, Chi-Chi. Have you seen them?
Yeah, there's 1 or 2, and someone else raised their hand.
I've got an Amazon delivery. It's just lots on the door.
Oh.
Lockdown life.
Do you want to go and get it? Are they going to come back?
Oh no, you have to leave it a bit, don't you? That's what they say. Leave it outside for a bit.
I love it. So I've got a question from Claire, and she's asking, how are you finding your energy levels fluctuating? She's finding she can have one good day and then the next day not so good energy and motivation wise. Plus, it's driving her a bit mad because she has 3 teenage boys at home constantly. So energy levels, how do you deal with that? Thanks for that, Claire. Great question.
Mine's just, I don't know about anybody else's, mine seems to be affected by sleep. So my sleep is just starting to calm down now, but the first few weeks I was like waking up at 1, 2, 3, and that's the only thing that will really affect my energy levels, and too many gins on a Friday.
Actually, this is great. We have another question. I'm going to stop now and let you guys answer this, but I'm going to make sure I put the question in so I don't forget. We'll talk about the role of alcohol and de-stressing and how we're all coping with that, because some of us are doing more running than others, like me. But how do you balance that additional energy with, winding down on a Friday. So we can carry on with Claire Marie's question. And someone, Leslie, put her hand up. Can you please put your hand up again, and I'll let you speak, or alternatively, put a question in the Q&A. So who else wants to pick up the question on energy levels? Feel free to speak away now.
I can if you want. I think that's who did you say asked the question?
Claire Marie.
Claire, first of all, 3 teenage boys, you deserve to have whatever energy levels you want every day. After this, you people just need a medal, because that is tough going, and I know it's tough on the kids. When I was a teenager or a kid, if I'd have been stuck in for this many hours every day, I don't know what my mum would have done with me. I don't know, because I had so much energy, and I still do. And I need to use it up, or I get miserable very, very quickly. So that's tough. That's really tough. In terms of your energy levels, though, if one day you feel really, really energetic, great, embrace it, do extra stuff. Be mum of the year with your kids, be homeschool champion, like PE teacher, the lot. Go for it. Use all that energy up. And on days when you haven't got much energy levels, try and get yourself, get your engine going with the things that we've been suggesting, or whatever you usually use, and hopefully that'll work. But you know what? If it doesn't, why we can't really expect to feel normal when it's not normal. We're not living in normal circumstances. Nobody's ever lived through this like in this day and age. Like, none of us have. So we're all trying to kind of figure it out. But the things we know about human beings is that we're unbelievably adaptable. We are incredibly adaptable creatures. That's why we've survived as long as we have. So we will adapt to whatever scenario that we're in. And also, people intrinsically, I believe, are good. So if you need support with that, reach out. And I bet there's loads and loads of other people who feel exactly the same, particularly mums and dads, or, foster carers, whatever, who are struggling with some element of having all of those people in the house to occupy, entertain, nurture, love, keep calm, make sense of it for your kids. I imagine that's very, very, very difficult. So reach out, and I'm sure there's loads of people who feel the same, and you open up will probably help them too. But yeah, in terms of energy levels, it is what it is. I tend to have very high energy levels anyway. My boyfriend, not so much. We had a game of badminton yesterday, and we came in and watched that together at home at the night. And I'm like dancing around to Elton John, singing my head off. He's literally, no joke, fast asleep right here on the couch. Didn't even murmur, didn't even disrupt him whatsoever. And I'm like, I'm still standing. He's like, unbelievable, totally different. But that's fine. And there's some days, like we've had a couple of days where I've gone, do you know what, today I'll do a little bit of a lighter training session, then let's just watch films. Let's just chill out and watch a few films, and just allow yourself that. It's about self-care at the end of the day. Some days self-care is, really going for it and using up all the energy. Some days it's just saying, I feel a bit flat. That's all right. That's absolutely fine. And I think when you've got 3 kids at home, you just deserve to feel whatever you want to feel. Absolutely, because that's tough. That's really tough. So
that was great. That was great. This is
definitely.
Thank you so much, Stacey. I hope that helps Claire Marie, because she is a legend, and I don't know how she does what she does. She's amazing. So I will end. We're pretty much done, really. We're at the end of the hour, and it's been so much fun. It's been really good. If anyone has any other questions, please use the question board. It will be flying around on social media. So just post in a question. It's open till next Monday, so you've got loads of time. And if you guys don't mind, I'll be tagging you at replying you to any questions that you might be able to answer on Twitter. We've also got the Slack group, so if anyone wants to put anything on there, Kelly, I'd very much like to see some detail about your events, your classes. We'd all like to sign up to one of your classes, basically. So join us in the Slack group, and just everyone keep connected on there, and on social media. And hopefully, maybe in the next month or a little bit, if you guys are available, we'll do a follow-up and just find out how people are getting on in month 2 or month 3 of the lockdown. So thank you so much.